Welcome to the Weather Farm. I'm meteorologist Christopher Hale. We have the latest on this ever developing weather system that's moving across Illinois and Indiana on our Sunday afternoon. Here at the Weather Farm, we have started to see snow in excess of 2 inches here already near the Boone County, Hendricks County line. We are expecting more snow as we move through the evening and into the overnight. So let's jump right into our forecast. We're going to first take a look at where our national hazards exist. And so we still have that blizzard warning for parts of Kansas into northwestern Missouri, into parts of far southeastern Nebraska. Winter storm warnings continue all the way to the East Coast, fully engulfing the states of West Virginia, most of Kentucky and most of Virginia, Maryland into New Jersey. New York City, you are even under a winter storm warning. And so as we get started here today, remind you before we get too much into the forecast, if you're people that are living in these states under warnings that you want to be notified, go ahead and tag them. Let them know to like and subscribe. Let them know that we are doing these live videos to update everybody with the latest information. And it's very easy. Just click the subscribe button below. Click the bell notification icon so that you're notified each and every time we go live here with our forecast. In addition to the winter weather that we have across the central part of the country, we look down along the coast, we have, in those reds, we have tornado warnings in effect, as well as severe thunderstorm watches and high wind watches in the tan areas. There's a lot of active weather. So as this low pressure is somewhere right here around Paducah, Kentucky, it is spinning energy all the way from the Gulf to the north, back across the plains, and will eventually affect the East Coast. I've not seen any reports yet of confirmed tornadoes on the ground. It's been about an hour since I looked last, but again, we do have those tornado warnings for radar-indicated tornadoes across parts of Louisiana into Arkansas. Right here is our current Indiana travel map. We'll give it a moment to refresh here. This is as of 4/26. Hey, thanks for everybody that's putting comments in the chat. I see them. Thank you for being a part of this community. Stinkpot Studios, if you are into gaming, they do Twitch videos about PAX Day each and every week. Subscribe to them on Twitch. They are a great resource. If you have kids that are into gaming or you're wanting to explore a new game, check out Stinkpot Studios. They are a big supporter of us here at the Weather Farm. Getting back to our travel advisory map, we have, where we see this yellow color, that means that there's a travel advisory in place. You are allowed to travel, to go about, but we're just asking that you take additional precautions as you go about. That's basically the southern half of the state of Indiana, with the exception of these counties as we get over towards Louisville. When we start looking at Orange, Jefferson, or Orange, Harrison, Jefferson, and now Floyd counties, those are under travel warnings. And when we look at travel warnings, this is the highest level of restrictions for travel that a state can issue. They are asking that you refrain from all types of travel, that you comply with the necessary emergency measures and only travel in the event of an absolute emergency, and that you cooperate with public officials in their trying to clear the roads and maintain safe driving for all involved. Where we have these orange looking from Monroe to Brown down towards Washington County, Scott County, Dearborn, Switzerland, Ripley County, Clark County down towards Louisville, you're under a travel watch. And what that means, I know it's off the screen, it means that travel is dangerous. You're asked to exercise extra caution. I noticed Hamilton County here, just north of the Indianapolis area, you are under a travel watch at this time. Use extra caution. If you need to be out, then do what you need to do. But if you can stay home, if you can let them get the roads cleared, that would just be helpful so that we can get everybody safely to where they need to go. I have heard reports from Shelby County earlier today, and Johnson County, that the roads there were very difficult to travel by some traveling nurses that were moving and going about their day down in those two counties. So again, just take stock of what's going on in your local community. Pay attention, prepare, make sure you have enough supplies in your vehicle if you are out traveling across the state of Indiana over tonight. In the southern quarter of the state, I would say from Knox County over towards Clark County and points south, I would use extreme caution when traveling tonight. I know not all those counties are under a watch or a warning, but we're expecting icing to occur in those counties later tonight. So it wouldn't be surprising to see those counties go under some type of watch or warning later tonight as we get into our Monday. So let's take a look at our model. So again, not much has changed from what we talked about yesterday. Heavy snow is still going to make its way through. We are going to see somewhat, especially in our southern counties, that mix of rain, ice, and snow. There may even be a little period where the precipitation shuts off completely and you may think that the storm is over. But as we saw, we have that back wave that's going to move through on our Monday. Again, this is the GFS model. So again, we watch this moving through overnight. Ice for those southern counties, a little bit of a gap, but it's this back edge that has to still pivot through on Monday, which may give you another inch or two of snow, especially in our southern quarter of the state of Indiana. If we look at the European model, we see pretty much a similar setup. We see ice again along that southern part of the state. It doesn't have as much of a gap with the precipitation as we make our way into our Monday, but then it forms a deformation zone early Monday morning, which could, if the setup is correct, if the European model is the one that eventually comes to fruition, that deformation zone could add on an additional 2 to 3 inches. So you may be sitting right now in places like Bicknell or in Shoals where you've received 4 or 5 inches of snow already. And you may think, well, they were saying we were going to get 8 to 10 or even 12 inches of snow. What's happening? Wait for that ice to get through. About 1/4 of an inch of ice accretion is expected. And it's that back deformation zone that's going to pivot through between 7 a.m. and 12 noon on our Monday that could add an additional 2 to 3 inches to your snow totals. And the last model I want to talk about is our HRW. It's one of our high resolution models that we have in-house here, that we use here at the Weather Farm. Why I like the high resolution models, again, I talked about this yesterday, is because they give us hour by hour and they are using a smaller grid to analyze their data. So whereas some of the national models like the European or the GFS, they use larger grids and extrapolate that data across larger grids because they can put out more data for longer periods of time by not being as precise with their information. The high resolution models typically use a grid of about 3 kilometers or about 12 kilometers depending on the model. And they analyze each of those 3 and 12 kilometer segments. And then they apply that criteria, whatever the model spits out for that area, to what's going to happen there. And then they aggregate it all together to get the type of maps we see here. So those high-res models can be a little more precise of where the icing line will form. And as we're seeing today, if you're in Indianapolis, you've been seeing snow. If you're up towards Carmel, you're just now getting into the snow. Up towards Lafayette, you've not seen much snow, even in the northern part of the state, not much snow. But if you're down towards Evansville, you've been seeing heavy snow, icing since about 6, 7 a.m. Central Time this morning. I know a few friends of mine down there, they talked about the treacherous roads. They made a trip out to the grocery store, and they talked about the icing roads, especially in Vanderburgh County. So again, be careful. But these models, especially the high-res ones, can help us identify those subtleties. And we see it here because we can see here on this high-res, we're getting to about, this is about 4 p.m. right now. 5 p.m. snow is going to really build across the Indy metro area. And where you see these dark colors, that is snow of up to 1 to 2 hours snow rates. So it's going to be that way. We're going to have a little bit of a gap, but it's going to fill back in, and it's going to be heavy through the night. We're here at midnight. We're into 1 a.m. We're getting ready to go to 2 a.m. Ice again for the lower part of the state, but here's that deformation zone I talked about forming, and you can see those striations in the different shadings of the blue, where you know you're going to get those heavier bands. And that is a beauty of a high-resolution model. You can get a little bit more precise where those heavier snow bands are going to set up. And we see here, we're still at noon on our Monday, and the southeastern part of the state is still experiencing snowfall. And into southern Ohio, you're going to see snow most of your Monday. And it's not until we get into late Monday night into Tuesday that that system completely moves out. So again, these high-resolution models, too, the beauty of them is they're updated every hour. So we're going to get another set of them here, in another hour. And so one of the ones that we can jump to is, let me jump here, it's our HRRR model. So this is as of the 2 o'clock run. This is saying from 2 o'clock Eastern through the end of the storm, how much additional snow is an area going to see. So Evansville, you may get that wraparound that's going to come. You've maybe seen 1 inch additional since 2 o'clock, but then watch and you'll tell where it's going to snow by as the numbers increase. So Indianapolis, you've not seen much snow so far, maybe 3 inches on the south side, a couple inches to the north side. But between 2 p.m. and when this system ends, you could see an additional 7 inches of snow. But look how quickly it cuts off to the north. We'll kind of wait for that. So Lafayette, it had maybe 2 inches for you where you've not seen anything yet. So 3 inches there. Muncie, I know as of the last report that I saw, you've received 1 inch. You could probably see an additional 3 to 4 inches. But you see these tight color bars here with the north. That is going to be the sharp cutoff, and that has been the trickiest part of the system. Where does that line set up exactly? Is it more across the Indy metro area? Is it just to the north? Or where does it set up? So places like Clinton County, northern Clinton County, you could see 2 inches, but southern Clinton County near the Boone County line, you could see 5 inches of snow when this is all said and done. Same thing for Hendricks or Putnam or Park counties. The northern part of your county may end up seeing 4 to 5 inches, and the southern parts of your counties may see 6, 8 inches plus. So we still believe that along the I-70 corridor, we will see an additional 6 inches of snow plus by the time the storm wraps up. Again, as we saw from the HRW, the high-res model, the southeastern part of Indiana, where that snow is going to linger the longest into our Monday, that's where we could see an additional 8 to 10 inches of snow as this system pulls out. Isolated 12-inch amounts, in addition to what you've already seen, are likely in that area. So it's one of the things I wanted you to see. And here's another version of that model. This is the RAP model. It's another rapid refresh model. It's a high-res model. This one does use a 12-kilometer grid in analyzing its data, whereas the HRRR uses a 3-kilometer grid. And so you see the difference very easily here, because with this particular model, it has a wide swath of 12-inch plus snowfall by the time the storm ends. It has about 8 inches additional for Indianapolis. It has the tight gradation to the top, to the north, where again, Lafayette, you may see only a couple inches. Muncie, you may see an additional 5 inches. But because this model uses 12-kilometer grids instead of 3-kilometer grids, you're not going to get those precise snowfall differentials, which is going to be common in this particular system. See a comment in there, watch out Dayton, Ohio for an additional snowfall amount there. This particular model could show an additional 14 inches of snow, but if we jump back to that high-res model, by the HRRR, by the time we got to the end of this cycle, it's going to be a lot less than that 14 inches. So again, a little bit difference in the different models that are used as we analyze the storm here. And so I want to take this moment now, because a lot of you out there, and again, what I'm doing here in the Weather Farm studio can't be done without the work you guys are doing out in the field. We have numerous reporters out and about across the country tracking this storm. And so I want to take you right now to, this is a picture out of Barboursville, West Virginia. So again, West Virginia is in that winter storm warning. This was about 2 o'clock Eastern. And so we see that here at US Highway 2, and I think it's Highway 136, 137 in West Virginia. They have received about a couple inches of snow. We take another look. Let's go here. Where'd it go? There it is. This is one of our weather reporters down in the southwestern part of the state, outside of Darmstadt, Indiana. Received about 7 to 8 inches of snow at their particular location. So you can see the difference. Where it's been snowing for most of the day, that's where we're seeing those heavier totals here in southwestern Indiana. I think I saw, let me pull this up over here real quick. Make sure it's still the latest information. One moment. Let's see. I think the largest, yeah, as of 1:30 Eastern Time, Ferdinand, Indiana, let me just jump to the travel map. Ferdinand, Indiana, which is in DuBois County, right over here, has received about 8.5 inches of snow. We look at Pike County, they've received about 7 inches of snow. St. Anthony's received about 7 inches of snow. We get up towards Martin County, Shoals, Indiana, you're checking in at 5.5 inches of snow. Monroe City, 5.5 inches of snow. So right now, the heavier snowfall has been across the southwestern part of Indiana. I haven't seen a report lately out of the Indianapolis International Airport, but as of 1:30, they'd reported 1.5 inches of snow. Here at the Weather Farm, again, we're at 2 inches of snow. I've heard reports of it snowing heavy in Carmel, but yet up towards Lafayette and Tippecanoe County, we've not seen any snowfall yet. If you are checking in from Tippecanoe County or any of those places, let us know what's happening by dropping it in the comments section, and that way we can get a better idea of how this storm is evolving. But again, going back, this is what it looked like in Evansville or near Darmstadt earlier today. That's that photo. Oops. That didn't come up. This is another great shot that was sent in by one of our, let me fix that real quick. There we go. One of our field reporters, this is on the southeast side of Marion County. They took up their drone, and so they took an aerial shot of what was happening, again, about 2 hours ago. So I'm sure the scene looks a lot different in southeastern Marion County. But again, this is the type of weather that we are seeing across central Indiana as we end our Sunday afternoon. So this snowfall will only continue to increase and intensify over the next few hours. We expect the heaviest snow to fall between 4 and 12 o'clock midnight tonight locally. So, yeah, I know, I wish I had a drone too. It would be great to be able to do these kinds of shots out here at the Weather Farm. I was trying to pull up one of our cameras here at the Weather Farm, but it kind of wasn't wanting to cooperate with me. So after we get through the snowfall, and again, this is another model. This is the European model that wants to bring, again, looking along that I-70 corridor, about another 6 inches of snow. And it agrees with the high-res models in that southeast Indiana. We'll see higher snowfalls by the time this wraps up. This one only wants to have about 5 additional inches for Dayton, so there is some discrepancy exactly of where that model, where that heavy snow line sets up. But this is a global model, and when we kind of take it a little closer, we kind of can see Terre Haute an additional 6 inches, Indianapolis 6 inches, Muncie 4 inches. This one wants to put about 4.5 additional inches up in Lafayette. And the thing about when we show these weather maps here, whether it's you get your weather information from the weather farm or you use other sources or your local media, we are all trying to do the best we can to give you the information as quickly as possible and as accurately as possible. One of the things we do here at the weather farm is we pride ourselves on no hype weather forecasting. So there are probably some models out there, and I talked about this yesterday when I looked at the Schreff plumes. There were some models that would have said 20 inches plus through Indianapolis. But you also have to use climatology and reason behind that. The highest 24-hour snowfall for Indianapolis in one calendar day has only ever been 12 inches of snow, and that was back in March of 1906. The greatest storm total, I think, is around 16 inches. So for a model to put out 20 inches of snow, and then for somebody to run with that map and say, this is what's going to happen, you have to use a little bit of science and you have to use a little bit of reason. So that's why we look at every model run, we analyze every model run that happens, and then we take an education guess. What do we think, based upon what we know from the data here, what do we think will happen? And there are some models, and as much as I love the Euro, or if I look here at the National Weather Service, the blend of models, which takes a lot of models and kind of averages them together, I still see that general 6-inch snowfall along the I-70 corridor. 6.5 for Terre Haute, 6.5 for Indy, and about 6 out towards Richmond, 8 towards Dayton. So, I kind of think, okay, well, this is a good map to show, as opposed to maybe some other maps that we might show. And so that's part of the thing. But the fact is, if you get 6.5 inches of snow here, and that's what we show is going to happen in Indianapolis, but you only get 3, well, that's just part of trying to forecast a difficult storm like this one is. We try to use the best available data, and we try to present you the information that you need to know. Models run every 6 hours, but we don't necessarily need to jump out and have a live video every 6 hours to tell you, well, this is what happened, this is what didn't happen. I'll tell you, last night, after we signed off from our live stream, we looked at those 0Z models, and they were a little bit different than what we were talking about on the live stream. And it kind of made me feel like, I've just said things, I've put out a video that's live, and people may think, well, this is what the weather farm said was going to happen, and then it's nothing like that. And so, you don't want to react to every model run, and so that's why we waited for the 06Z to run overnight. We saw that it maybe was getting a little bit of a self-correction, and by the time we got to the 12Z models, which ran about 7 a.m., finished about 9:30, 10 o'clock, we saw, it's the models have kind of come back to what we were talking about last night. So there's no real reason to deviate from our forecast that we talked about yesterday. Still, a tight gradation in our snowfall totals. Heaviest is going to be south of I-70. Whether you're in Illinois, Indiana, or in Ohio, the heaviest snow is going to be south of I-70. As this storm moves east, great question there in the chat. Is West Virginia going to get more due to the Appalachian Mountains? How do the models discern between the higher elevations? That's one of the beauties of using, I don't think you can see it on this. These numbers are not your typical 10-to-1 ratio of snowfall. So this wouldn't have said 0.65 liquid inches of precipitation for 6.5 inches of snow. That's the typical ratio that we use, 10 inches of snow for every inch of liquid precipitation. A lot of the models that we show here at the weather farm are using the Kuchera method. And what the Kuchera method does is it takes into a lot of factors into determining what that snow ratio is going to be. Because places like down towards Evansville today, where you were in the mid to upper 20s when everything started, your snowfall ratio may have been more of an 8-to-1 ratio. Up here in Indianapolis, where we've hovered around 20 degrees most of the day, that is a lighter, fluffier form of snow. We may be 12-to-1 on our snowfall ratios. As that system moves east, we get the backside deformation zone happening. We're going to have even drier air, even colder temperatures, which may drive that down to a 15-to-1 or a 20-to-1 ratio. So what the Kuchera method does is it takes every piece of data and every variable into its formula as it spits out a number for accumulating snowfall. So it's going to know for the first 3 hours it's at a 10-to-1 ratio, then it's at a 12-to-1, or it's going to average all those together. It's going to take into effect changes in elevation. Evansville, you're about 400 feet above sea level. Up here in Indianapolis, you're about 900 feet above sea level. So it's going to be able to take into effect this elevation change as well as you get from the hills of southern Indiana to the more flatlands of northern Indiana. All of this happens into effect. And yes, as this system moves east, as it encounters the Appalachian Mountains, the system is going to be lifted up, and it's going to precipitate out all of its available moisture as it goes up and over those mountains. So yes, on this side of the mountains, you're going to see more snowfall than on the lee side of the mountains. So all of those things, orographic lift, how much that involves into precipitation and snowfall, are all factored into these particular models. So that's a great question there in the chat on that. So the one thing, so we get through this system, and I want to tease you guys a little bit because this isn't the only system that we are watching. We talked about the severe weather down along the south. We still see that. Let's see if there's any additional tornado warnings. Yep, we've seen one now pop up here into parts of western Mississippi. The one that was in southeastern Arkansas has expired. We still have a tornado warning here in the northwestern parishes of Louisiana. So, ooh, that's new. This is a freeze watch. Again, the thing with this particular system, heavy snow, but behind it was going to be that colder Arctic air. In fact, as we get to the 9th and 10th of the month, we're going to see that here. And so now we're already experiencing some freeze watches being hoisted across parts of far southeastern Georgia and northern Florida for the upcoming few days. But where I was going with this is we're going to get the cold air, but the thing that, let me jump to another map. I don't have it in my Stream Deck yet. Not that map, this map right here. So this is the projected snow depth, again, as we, in the day on Tuesday. So here's the heavy snow that's going to be laid down from Kansas, Nebraska, all the way to the East Coast. Stinkpot Studios, there's the effect of the Appalachian Mountains. See that heavy snow depth there? Look at this hole. We have a hole of snow where there's nothing on the ground at Minneapolis, Madison, Eau Claire, far northern parts of Iowa. So what we've seen in the last several runs in regards to temperatures, the cold air is going to branch of the polar vortex is going to dive south across the Canadian provinces of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. It's going to run into this bare ground. It's going to moderate a little bit, and then it's going to come across the snowpack, which isn't going to allow it to moderate anymore. So we were thinking earlier this week we may see double-digit below zero temperatures. Probably not going to do that this week. But if we can get a snowpack to fill in this part of the country, then the next time we get a branch of the polar vortex, which there will be many more, stay tuned to our long-form videos on YouTube for those, because we talk more in depth about the long-term trends in our long-form videos on YouTube. But we do believe that this will fill in. There will be another branch of the polar vortex come down by the time we get toward the end of January. That could set the stage for another round of bitterly cold temperatures across the Ohio Valley and into the deep southeast by the time we get toward the end of January. Still a long ways off, about 3 weeks away, so a lot to determine. But I want to give you the idea of what's going to happen. So here's our system. It's going to move out on our Monday. It's going to take those heavy storms off the coast. We look out west, it's quiet and calm. We have some snowfall across the mountains of the Rockies. Out to the east and to the northeast, we have a low pressure system across parts of Quebec that's going to bring light snow showers to New England. But here we go. We have another atmospheric river getting ready to make its way on shore, this time impacting more of British Columbia with heavy rains and those higher mountain snows. But pay attention to this low. This is our next system that we're going to watch. And this is what we call a Gulf low, because it's going to come out of Mexico. It's going to make its way through far southern Texas by the time we get to Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. It's going to start picking up moisture from the Gulf on our Thursday. High pressure is going to move out. That's what's going to bring us to very cold temperatures Wednesday and Thursday. But look, we're setting up with snow across most of Texas, north central Texas, even maybe approaching the Austin area with some heavy snow and ice, and down towards Dallas. That low is going to come out of the Gulf, and this is a Gulf low that likes to shoot up through Ohio. And so what it's going to do, by the time we get to Friday afternoon into Friday night, it's going to spread snow back into Illinois, into Kentucky, into Indiana. This storm won't have the ice threat that the one that's just departing has. This is a Gulf low, so most of the Ohio Valley, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky, you're going to be on the colder side of this. You're going to be on the backside. Still too early to talk about snowfall amounts with that particular storm as we get towards our Friday, but it is definitely a storm that we're going to be watching over the next several days. So again, we do videos on our YouTube channel 3 times a week, usually releasing them Monday mornings, Wednesday mornings, and Friday mornings. So if you want the latest national look, and we do zoom in on particular storms throughout those videos, subscribe, like, share this with a friend. You're going to get the straight story. We're going to be very transparent in everything that we do here at the Weather Farm. From our videos, we have a lot of people out in the field that are helping us, giving us on-site reports of what's going on in their location. And we have a staff here that's working to evaluate the content and the production value and make sure that we are staying true to the mission of the Weather Farm, which is no hype weather. We give you what we know at that time. Looking on here, I don't see any more questions in the chat. Yeah, I'm ready for more snow as well. It's been, I think, almost 10 years since we've had a good, decent winter here in central Indiana. The last couple have failed to reach 10 inches of snow, so we are looking forward to that. We'll go ahead and end this particular live stream. We thank you again for joining us here at the Weather Farm. Hope you found this informative. Leave us a comment. Let us know what information we can do to make this more informative for you as you make your decisions. We hope to see you again real soon.